If your application only supports one language, you are leaving money on the table. As you might know, most of the world doesn't speak English as their first language, and users are way more likely to engage with an application that speaks theirs. In this video, I'll show you how to add multi-language support for your React Native application using react-i18next and Expo. By the end, your app will support multi-language and you'll know how to add more, either manually or using an AI agent skill to do it automatically. Hey, if you're new here, I'm Beto. I spent years building mobile applications at Walmart, then at Expo as a developer success engineer, where I helped thousands of engineers build production applications. Now I run Code with Beto full-time, where I help developers master mobile development and ship real applications. We have some success stories, students who landed their first mobile dev role earning 6 figures, and others who are already making money from their applications on the stores. If you want to be part of that, I have a Discord community, a weekly newsletter, and a pro membership. All the links are in the description. Let's get into it. All right, so let's see the demo. This is Platano, one of our premium templates, and it allows you to actually ship AI image applications super quickly. It's a work in progress at the moment that I'm recording this video, but it might be ready now that you are watching this video. And here you can see that the user can select the language. I can just use the device language or hard code this, for example, to Spanish, and all the application changes. Even if I go to the generation playground, let's say that we want to edit this photo. On the right, I can just long press, and all these controls are now in Spanish. This is absolutely crazy. And then if I go back to the settings, I can switch to English. And again, everything is going to change. But we're also going to cover how to handle the device language. For example, if we set it to device language, and then set Spanish as my device language. If we go back to the application, and I need to go through the onboarding, but now as you can see, it is in Spanish. So everything is working just great. The user does not need to select anything. We are going to just grab the default language from the device. So like I said in the beginning, we're going to be using i18next, which to my knowledge is the best package that you can use at the moment for React applications and React Native. We're going to need as well localization from Expo, and this is a module that is going to let you know the native user localization information. Let's go ahead and install these dependencies. Here I have my project. I'm going to say npx expo install expo localization. And this is just a very simple project that I just created so that it's easier to understand. Let's go back and we're gonna need these two. Let's run bun install react-i18next and then i18next just like that. Okay, that's it. Now I'm gonna close the terminal, and if we take a look at the app.json, now we have a plugin that was automatically added. So make sure that you have this in here if you install Expo Localization. Expo Localization is included in Expo Go, so we don't need to precompile the application. Now we can start configuring i18. So let's create a new folder and call it i18next. Let's create a new file, i18next.ts, and then I'm going to create a subfolder locals, and this folder is going to include the languages that we actually support for this application. And I recommend that you use the language code. For example, English is going to be en.ts. This is the only string that we have so far in this application, so let's go ahead and define the English language. So I'm going to say const English, and this is going to be an object, and there are so many ways that you can define this. In some cases, you'll find something like common, and these are common actions that you're going to be reusing across multiple screens. Or you can also have something like home and then just title home, like in this case. In the common object, you will have call to actions. Let's say click me. For now, let's just get rid of this to keep it simple. I'm going to just have a home, which is my home screen. And then title is going to be hello world, and hit save. Now let's define Spanish. I'm going to create a new file, es from Spanish, and we can do the same. You can just copy this. Oh, but before I do that, actually, I want to export this. I'm exporting the object as well as the type translations, which is type of the language. This way we can enjoy of type safety. Okay, so let's copy this. Let's go to the Spanish language. And then in here, we can just change this to be the Spanish equivalent. Okay, so once we defined our languages, we can close this. And I'm going to go back to the official documentation from react-i18next, and let's just copy this TypeScript example and paste it in here. Of course, we're going to have a couple things that change because this is for web, and right now we're using React Native. First of all, let's delete these two. I'm going to add these two imports. Since we are using Expo, I'm gonna need to bring from Expo Localization, get locales, and we are gonna need from React Native i18 manager. And this is basically how we init it, right? So we call i18n, and then we call the function use, passing the init react-i18next. So in here we can actually pass directly English, for example, and bring this from the locales that we defined. Let's just pass Spanish as well and hit save. Here we can define the default language, and in here this is why we are importing Expo Localization, because we can actually get the device language, and we can get it just by calling get locales. This is going to return an array, and we are just grabbing the first position. You can see that the response is going to look something like this. So we are just grabbing the language code, which could look like this, right? Otherwise, if we cannot find anything, we are going to default to English. Then we can just use this language here instead of hard coding English, and then fallback language English. You can change this if you want. Apart from that, we can also define supported languages. In this case, I'm just gonna have English and Spanish, and that's pretty much it. Now I'm actually going to delete this. And the reason why I imported this from React Native, I'm not going to cover this in here, but if you really wanted to, you can also detect if the device is right to left, needs right to left. So you can call get locales, get the text direction and see if it's right to left. And then based on that, you can set the allow right to left and force right to left. Then you can use this is right to left to validate your UI. I'm not going to cover this for now, so I'm just gonna delete this and just export the i18. Quick coffee break. If you're serious about React Native, consider becoming a pro member at codewithbeto.dev. You get my full React Native course, TypeScript, Git, plus real production projects with source code you can ship. One price, lifetime access, everything I build goes in there, link in the description. All right, let's get back to the video. Okay, and now I can go back to my app and we can use the hook useTranslation from react-i18next. Let's put the T in the console just to see. So T is a function that gets you the translation. And right now, if I put this in the console, you can see that it says home title. Okay, and the reason why it's showing home.title, it's because I missed to add the translation object to the locales. So we need to keep this translation like that. And then in the entry point of my application, I'm going to import i18, which is my folder. And that actually fixed it, the folder, and then this file here. This is basically what I'm doing here in the entry point. If you're using Expo Router, you need to do this in the layout file. And once we've done that, now we can see the actual value of this translation. Right now, we're actually setting this using the settings from the device. So if I go to general and then language, let me set to Spanish. Let's go back to the application. There we go. It's in Spanish. But of course, this is a very basic example, and that's why I want to show you as well how I have set it up for Platano, our template. Since we're allowing the user to overwrite the value, I'm also storing it in the local storage. So we're using Expo SQLite with the KV store for that. And then using the storage, we can actually grab that from the device. And then based on what we have stored, we get the language, and it could be, you know, the default device template or a hard-coded one that the user selected. And then we can just pass that directly to the configuration. Right here, it's going to be the one that is going to be loaded by default. And then if you want to allow the user to change it, for example, here we have the picker. When the user selects a value from the picker, we can just call i18next dot change language, and then we pass the language that we want to change to. This is all coming from our i18next export. We're also importing the language labels and resolve device language, which is just a helper function. So just to show you, this is coming from this file, just to make it clear. Just as an example, let me show you how the locales look like for this. We have some common actions that look like this, and then Spanish, it's going to have basically the same keys with different values. And then I would recommend that you create a skill or a command for Claude to automatically handle adding new languages. This is actually pretty easy for AI, so just go ahead and ask it to add more languages as you need. If you want to learn more about React Native, check out this other video. I'll see you there.